Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 537. And today we're talking about why you are absolutely not broken. Many people right now listening to this, wherever you're, by the way, this is being broadcasted on YouTube and also on Facebook. Just search my name. I'll get it right up there in the search engine, and make sure you subscribe or like so you can get notified for these things. But so many people feel like they are broken, but they're unfixable. And I'm telling you right now, it's a lie and it's a myth. It's easy how we believe myths. It's easy how we can believe in lies. We're easily manipulated through life experiences. But I'm here to tell you, you are absolutely 100% not broken. I don't care what you're going through. I don't like if you're feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, or if we're just attracting bad relationships, or we're not excelling in our career how we would like to. It's not because you're broken. If you're broken, it means you're unfixable, and that is absolutely not the case when it comes to you. You see, if we break this down to a fundamental specifying action, it is all about understanding how things came into existence and how we can reverse engineer it so it can actually work for us. So let's go ahead and break that down. When it comes to sociology, they say the very first 7 years of our life is called the imprint period, or imprint age even. So in other words, it means that we come into this world, we're totally fresh, we have no understanding, we haven't created any labels about ourselves or the world. We're just like a sponge or a blank canvas. Now, when we're a blank canvas, we are going to be imprinted upon. Now, where are we imprinted upon? How do we do that? Well, it's about the life experience that we have within those first 7 years, but also we're being imprinted upon by the people in our life. So most people actually say, based on psychology and sociology and so on, that most of our issues and most of our personality can be created in that first 7 years. The first 7 years of our life is so critical that we are imprinted upon. The events that we go through, and you got to think about, because we are a sponge, who are we modeling or receiving that from? It's going to be our parents. It's going to be those in our life. And we're going to take things on uncritically. We take it on uncritically because we have no comparison. You have no other evidence which will tell you otherwise. So those first 7 years, you come into this world, you're like, everything's cool and amazing and it's all free. I have no idea what's happening, who I am, where I'm heading, what I'm doing. I have no concept of what an emotion is or what a belief is or whatever a computer is. Like, we are just so fresh, we have no idea. But then we start to take on, we're being imprinted upon by the experiences we go through life and those people that we are surrounded with. Now, the next 7 years, based on sociology, they call it the modeling phase. So between 7 and 14 years old. Let's go ahead and put some music to this as well. But let's go for this one. So, the next 7 years is going to be the modeling age. So we've been imprinted upon, and now we're starting to model people. Who are we going to be modeling? Well, once again, it's going to be those people in our life. Could be friends, family members, it could be teachers. And based on how we interpret that experience or significant emotional events in that experience will be the basis of how we're going to become or how we're going to act and react in certain situations. Now, let's break it down a little bit further. Because if we go ahead and progress to the next phase, is starting to become the socialization. So therefore, we're now starting to socialize with people. We're trying to identify who we are, who we're not, and that is why we can change friendship groups quite frequently, because we're trying to understand who we are. But the very first 7 years, and the latter, the imprint, is going to be very, very important to us, because we don't know what we don't know. And if we don't know what we don't know, we are going to be taking things on uncritically. We're ultimately going to be hypnotized by those people in our life or the experience itself. Let's just say there's a little Joseph Clough, and this is probably true, but I'm going to make it up, but there's little Joseph Clough going through life, walking down the road, and then something happens. Someone pushes into me. I'm like, what is this? This is a weird experience to have. That wasn't nice. It didn't feel good. But you go ahead and get up or I go ahead and get up and go on with my day. Next day, same thing happens. Someone pushes me over. And now it's starting to become not a random thing, but an inconvenience. It's a frequent thing. Happens again a third time. In that moment, I may decide that the world is a bad place, or not to trust people. And we can change the scenario, we can change the script to many things you may have gone through. But when it comes down to it, when we're in our life, we're very much so just absorbing everything at a young age. And we have no criteria, we have no experience, and we have no way to tell the difference between what is truth and what is illusionary. We are just taking things on uncritically. Now, if we're taking things on uncritically, therefore we may unconsciously make mistakes. And this is why you, my friend, you are absolutely not broken. You are not broken because when we go into these events, so how an issue can come into play is going to be for a few reasons. One, is going to be a significant emotional event. So we're in an event which is so significant that we have no idea how to deal with it. And this could be last week, it could be when we're 7 years old, it could be 6 months or 2 years ago. So it doesn't have to be in the first 7 years. However, there's going to be an event because we are interacting with the external world. If there was no world, then we probably wouldn't be creating limiting beliefs because we have no concept of interaction with who I am and what is who I'm not, which is the external. So we go through a significant emotional event, and based on that significant emotional event, which we find very hard to deal with, we are going to make a decision. Now, let me ask you a question here. When you're under stress, when you're in that place of feeling like there's no way out, when you're in that place of going, I don't know what to do, this is too hard, are we going to make good and great, powerful decisions? Absolutely not. We're not going to make decisions which are going to be positive and protective. They might be initially protective. So in other words, reactive. That's why phobias are created. I might get bit by a dog when I was a child, and then my brain associates every dog as being something to look out for because this thing, which I categorize as a dog, will then link to all other dogs if it were to be a phobia. So we go through this stress event and we make a decision. Now, we do not make good decisions when it comes to stress events, compared to us being all logical and happy and very objective, having time and space to be able to come up with a good decision. Never really happens when it comes to significant emotional events. It hits us like a bus and we have no idea what to do, and not consciously, but your unconscious mind makes a decision in that moment based on the knowledge that it has. And in that one moment, it doesn't have too much. So it makes a protective mechanism. It decides that this is not safe and I'll do whatever it takes to get out of it. I might even believe or decide that I am not worthy just because it will keep me in my comfort zone. I may just take it on uncritically from someone and then I'm like, this is who I am. But we got to think about it as well. We know that there's a positive intention. So number one, there's a significant emotional event. We are unable to make good and great decisions. We're making stressed decisions, which are never good. But the intention behind it was trying to protect you. It was trying to keep you safe. Whether it be a fear or a phobia, whether it be anxiety, worries, doubts, imposter syndrome, feeling like we're not enough, not good enough, not capable, not lovable, not worthy, all women are bad, or all men are bad, all money is bad. These are all safety decisions initially, but they spiral out of control where your unconscious mind assumes responsibility for them. When it assumes responsibility, it's going to hold on to those issues that you think are horrible for dear life because that's the only thing your unconscious mind understands and knows what to do. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. It doesn't know another way. So we can realize there's a positive intention as to why your body, your unconscious mind, runs and maintains this experience. And in this experience, it feels like we're out of control. And when we start to get negative, we start to get doubtful, we even feel rage sometimes, or we feel this like, I just can't cope. Now that gets directed to your unconscious mind because in its mind it's going, but I've been trying to protect you. I've been trying to keep you safe by having this fear about yourself and your potentiality, by trying to protect you and get out of all situations where you might get hurt. And because we have all that emotion and dislike and resistance to the issue, we become more divided to our unconscious mind. We become so divided that we get out of rapport with our own neurology. We get out of rapport with our own sense of self. And that obviously makes us feel more lost, and the spiral continues. In fact, then you start to create beliefs. Now, when it comes to beliefs, those are the things which make up your world. There are other ones like values, decisions, language, personality traits, and so on. But beliefs are a big one when it comes to our experience. Now, let's just say you have a belief system, and that belief system was one of, I am not good enough. I am not capable. Now, if you have that as a belief system because of that past experience, maybe because you were told, or maybe because you did so-called fail, you come to the conclusion somehow, some way that we're not good enough. Now, that not good enough belief system does what? Well, it dictates your capacity and capabilities. If I don't believe I'm good enough, my capacity is shrinking by the moment. And if it's shrinking, guess what else is shrinking as a knock-on effect? My behavior. I'm doing less. I'm reacting in a fear-based way. Positive intention protection, but a fear-based way. Now, when that happens, guess what? Knock-on effect is I don't get the results I want. And when I don't get the results I want, it reaffirms the belief system of that's why, Joseph, I am not good enough. But if we change the scenario, if we flip it around to I am enough or I am good enough, your capacity goes far and wide. Now your behavior, the things that you do, is inspired because you see and believe within yourself that you're so much more. Therefore, your behaviors and your results will reaffirm the belief of that's why you're enough. So we can go in these two different directions. Now, how does this relate to why you are not broken? Well, you're not broken because it was just a decision. And you make decisions every single day. Maybe not as big, but it's an unconscious decision to believe in something or to react to something based on your experience. So think about that decision, the thing or the issues or the symptoms that you experience. They are simply strategies. They are things that you've been either hypnotized through life experience or conditioned to replicate and to repeat because that's all you know. But that's good news because it is a habit. It is a process. In fact, everything that you do is simply a strategy. Buying things, simply buying things, which are strategies. Love strategies. Getting out of bed strategies. All these things that we do are continuous, unlimited amount of strategies and processes that we do consciously, but more importantly, unconsciously. Now, if they are strategies and they are just decisions, it must mean you are not broken. You may be running a broken strategy or an inappropriate or unwarranted decision, which led to a set of broken behaviors and habits, but that is not who you are. As the essence of you, you are whole. You came into this world whole in some way. And that just means we need to get back to the truth. We need to realize that it's not about the thing that I'm doing, it's about who I'm going to become. Who do I want to be? How do I transform this? Well, there's a few ways how you can realize not only am I not broken or unfixable, I'm simply running a set of unconscious strategies based on certain decisions with the best intentions because I went through significant emotional events and I chose those unconsciously because I was in that stress state and my unconscious mind had no idea how to choose different. In retrospect, you would have probably chose something else. Consciously, you definitely would have. Now, we have to educate your unconscious mind. Rather hating it, rather having these thoughts and feelings about ourselves and therefore the unconscious mind, we need to reconnect with who we are. Realize, separate behavior, where your issue is a behavior, but it has that positive intention. Well, how can I hypnotize my unconscious mind to create a new set of behaviors, a new set of exciting possibilities with that positive intention in mind? Because when you do that, your unconscious mind has to change. Why? Because the prime reason why your unconscious mind is here is to preserve you. It is simply here to protect you. It runs a fight and flight response. It runs the habits. It runs the organs. Does all the things like driving on the motorway and you don't realize where you've been or where you got to, but you got there somehow without even expecting it because you were just drifting or listening to a podcast or whatever it may be doing in the car. Because your unconscious mind assumes responsibility for many processes that you need. Otherwise, you'd be a nervous wreck if you had to be aware of everything in your experience. So if your unconscious mind runs these processes, we need to get the unconscious mind, backtrack. It runs these processes for protection. All of them, the fight and flight, the habits, all those things, the organs, the healing of the body. If I cut myself, my body will heal it pretty quickly, which I find absolutely remarkable in every single way how my neurology can do things like that. But because it's trying to protect us, it means the only way to transform your life is by educating your unconscious mind to a new protective mechanism, a safer way. It's almost like updating a computer. Hopefully, the updates aren't always that good. There's some like kind of little bugs to be fixed along the way. I know that from apps that I have. But on the whole, they are there to update the system to be a better version than the prior one. Now, if your unconscious mind is trying to run your issue, whatever it is, for the intention of the intentional purpose of protection, which makes us feel broken as the consequence, the only way to make that change is to find that root cause, that decision or that belief, and then educate your unconscious mind to a safer way. And since its prime reason is to protect you, it has to biologically take on that new protective mechanism if it understands why it's important, but also how you'll be safer than ever before. We are honoring the reasons why our unconscious mind does what it does by offering up an alternative set of results, alternative set of behaviors that will truly protect us. So we have to educate your unconscious mind. So we've got into the theory of it. We know that the first 7 years was the imprint age based on sociology. Then it was the modeling phase. Then it goes into the socialization, and we didn't go into it, but then it goes from 21 onwards. We're going to adult. Supposedly we're adults at 21. I don't think I was. But we understand these phases of the system of growth. And we also know we are kind of a blank canvas, and it is easy to make quick decisions unconsciously because of the stress to make mistakes, but for the intention of protection. And therefore, it spirals out of control, and therefore, it dictates your capabilities, the beliefs, then our capabilities, to the behaviors, to how we show up in the world, which reaffirms itself. But the only way to change that is by evolving the unconscious mind. And that is why you're not broken. It was simply a set of decisions unconsciously, which repeated itself, which became the theme for maybe your life. If it becomes a theme for your life, we actually expect more of the same. You know what that means. If I or you, we keep on thinking that we're not enough, we expect more of not being enough. Therefore, we get scarcity. Therefore, we choose the wrong person. We never go for that job. We never get that career. We never start our business. We never do what we truly love, because that theme becomes an expectation. And that expectation has an effect on your evaluation of who you are. And if you have a low valuation and evaluation in who you are, then of course, those become suggestions to your unconscious mind to keep on doing the same old thing. But it must mean you are not broken. You might feel broken, but that is not who you are. The truth of the matter is, you have all the resources you need to transform your life. You have everything. When I wrote my book, I can't even remember the tagline, but it was pretty much saying, you've got everything you need. You just got to put it together. I think it was far more eloquent than that. But ultimately, we do have everything we need on the inside. Yeah, we got to decide. Yeah, we've got to be able to be dedicated. Yes, we've got to take action. And yes, we've got to make a decision which is good and great for us. And that can be hard. But what is harder is staying the same. We've got to be more dedicated to the solution than being dedicated to the problem. And if we're not doing anything, it ultimately means we're more dedicated to remaining the same. So we need to take a stand. We need to assume responsibility, to do whatever it takes. Okay, if things happen to me in my life, I'm not responsible for that person hurting me. I'm not responsible for what that person did to me or what the economy did. But I am responsible to do something about it now. Because if I just allow that responsibility of something beyond myself, then only that person or the economy or whatever it was can help me or change me. It's like, maybe I might change if it rains today or if the sun comes up. We never want to be able to rely on external things to make that change. We want to be able to take responsibility and go, look, I'm in control of my mind and body. What I do today is going to affect my future self, and I am going to make decisions not for just my well-being now, but my well-being in the future. I'm going to do whatever it takes to educate my unconscious mind, whether it be listening to all the podcasts, whether it be listening to hypnosis, whether it be walking with someone locally, whether it going to my program, whether it be reading a book. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you matter, and whatever is right for you is right. But realize you are not broken. The source of you is potential. You might be gone a little bit skew-whiff along the way, but those are just decisions which had consequential reactions and associations and beliefs and all the other things. But ultimately, they're just behaviors, they're strategies. And we've got to separate ourselves from the behavior of anxiety. We've got to separate ourselves from the strategy of feeling like an imposter. We need to be able to get that depth to understand, okay, what is this really? It's a behavior, a set of strategies I've learned to do unconsciously that I've repeated so often, it feels like the story of my life, but that is not who I am. It's just what I'm doing. And as far as I'm aware, you're a human being. You're not the doing aspect. That's the consequence of being. So we need to get back into the beingness, the wholeness, the greatness, the fulfillment, the peace, and all of those things by getting our mind right, by educating and evolving it. How do you evolve it? By learning from it unconsciously, updating that system. Like I said, podcasts, hypnosis, getting one-to-one, joining a program, whatever it is, surrounding yourself with the right people, all of those things, assuming responsibility. But in every single way, that must mean you are not broken. You're not broken. And as I always say, you are always more. Whatever you think about of yourself, you are always more. You have everything you need. It's almost like saying, we know everything. We've got everything we need, but we're just doing things in the wrong order. We need to recalibrate. We need to get back and put things right. We've made decisions which have spiraled out of control, create a consequential set of symptoms or realities or themes and stories we tell ourselves, but that is not who you are. They're just decisions we've made. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I think of the core of us, especially when we come into this world, I really believe that we're like just whole, we're love. Because how can you not be if you have no experience or articulating labels of anything when you come into this world so purely? So that means that's what we are at a source, and that's when the decisions get further along the way and we go through those events. But I hope you understand that is why you are not broken. That is why you are not unfixable. We've just got to educate, evolve, resolve the unconscious mind to make that change. So we've got a great question here. Really good question. Amy says, if we're not broken and our unconscious mind is trying to protect us, are those toxic habits and toxic relationships there because it's trying to protect us from something? So, knowing we're not broken, knowing we're not unfixable, we may attract toxic relationships because that is what we feel we're unconsciously worthy of. So if I believe I'm not enough or I'm not worthy, my mind is going to find the closest thing to that. Now, I'm either going to find someone who is unworthy, but I'm more likely to find someone who's going to be attracted to that. So let's say it was if it were unworthy or not enough, then our value goes down, and then we kind of may unconsciously desire or feel like we should be punished or we should not be in a good relationship. So in a way, it's better to have that because it justifies our belief system and our identity. And if that's all we think that we're worth, we can sometimes think that that's the only safe way of being because that is all we know. So just because it's toxic, it doesn't mean it's not familiar. We unconsciously seek out things which are familiar. And in a sense of being familiar, it feels almost right. It's not, of course, toxic relationship. They're not good for us. But if it's the thing that we've had, because we believe certain things about ourselves, or maybe we've been conditioned from parents or other experiences growing up, or whatever it is, that's going to be, once again, our evaluation. If that becomes our evaluation, it becomes our theme. So it is a protective mechanism to a degree because it's what's familiar. And if we don't feel worthy or enough, or like we can change the words to fit the narrative, but it will be still a protective mechanism because we don't know anything different. We don't know what we don't know. We're very fearful. We can sometimes feel more fearful about good relationships because they might turn out bad and we might be dreaming about it, hallucinating it, and then we're like, oh no, it's all gonna fall down, so it's best to stay with what I know about. So that was such a fantastic question, Amy. There's always that protective mechanism, whether it be familiarity, if I can ever say that word correctly, but also the decisions and our evaluations about our worth, which will dictate and attract those kind of people into our life, or situations if we change the for other people, for other issues and so on. Lisa says, you always seem to speak on topic that I really need to hear at the moment. Thanks for doing what you do. Well, you are more than welcome, Lisa. It's always a pleasure to have you here live. I know it's a quick 10-minute notice here. And once again, if you're listening to this on the replay, you can get on live. I'm trying to do 5 p.m.s. I've got no days organized, but at least 5 p.m.s Pacific Standard Time. That's how I end my day when I go for a walk with Sebastian, my little dog, and then end the day there. Trying to be pretty rigid, although I'm walking tonight. But I hope you enjoyed this. I really do. And once again, the app is coming out with some huge releases. Every track is going to be in day and night form. If you purchased an individual or you unlocked the whole app, which I highly suggest you do if for some good reasons coming up in the future. But unlocking the whole app means you will get every track in night version as well, day and night. And they'll be complimentary. We're giving you those for free. You don't have to upgrade or anything or pay anything extra. So with that, my wonderful friends, I wish you the most amazing, the most brilliant rest of your evening, your morning, your afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon on a future episode. Many thanks and goodbye.